All right, it is Training Tuesday once again. We used to call it Template Tuesday, as some of you know, but it's not anymore. It's Training Tuesday, and today is June 11th. I took a couple weeks off because I went to Europe. I was just telling my compatriot here that it was the longest vacation I've taken since I started this company almost 15 years ago, which was pretty cool. Had a good time, but now we are back and we're here to talk about Ontraport. I'm assuming y'all can hear me now, so I'm just going to get started. What I wanted to talk about today was order form settings. There have been some questions lately about different ways to set up your kind of like the way the way you set up your order forms to create different offers. And I can understand a little bit of confusion because there's a lot of tools in there, and there's a lot of ways to kind of get creative with the functionality in there. And so I thought it'd be worth kind of just going through real quick, talking about all the features that are available. I may miss some, but we'll try and cover them as much as I can. Then I'll give you a couple examples of ways to create some interesting offers that are not necessarily obvious immediately. So I'm going to jump right in here. This shouldn't take too long, I don't think, but I want to just start on this order form. This is a template that I created. I haven't even saved this yet. This is one of the templates that's available in your account. This is an Ontraport page. The same features are available no matter kind of how you create this form. But in an Ontraport page, you click on the order form button, or on the order form button, I think, is the main way to do it. And or I guess maybe on the credit card buttons. Does that work too? Credit card fields? No, you got to click on the submit order button. And down here you'll see the two settings areas. One is for form settings, and these are just the normal form settings that you'd find on any type of form. So, where they go next and what happens when they fill this thing out, stuff like that. Rules if this payment's successful, if it's failed, all that stuff kind of shows up here under the form settings. But what we're going to talk about today is what's under the product and payment settings. So you'll see that there's a bunch of settings over here on the side, and we're just going to kind of run through them. So here we go. And I'm actually going to skip this one first because it's the main thing I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about the rest of these things real quick. So first here you would add and edit products. We'll come back to that in just a second. Here you'll add a shipping method. So this is basically where you add costs for shipping, and of course you could add that as a product, but if you add it as shipping, it shows up differently on the order form so they can see what they're being charged for shipping. Also, it shows up in your reporting a little bit differently, and lastly, you're able to kind of dynamically offer different shipping costs based on stuff like where the user is and stuff like that. So you can do that here. You can add a shipping method, and you can create a new shipping method and say it's UPS for $10, and then you can this thing here is conditional. So only show this shipping option if, for example, the state is not equal to California or whatever it might be, and then you can create multiple ones for different countries or whatever it might be. If this country is not equal to your country, you might charge more for shipping, and then if a particular user can see multiple shipping options, they'll be able to select, and so you'll kind of see how all that works. It's pretty simple once you look at it. This little checkbox here says charge shipping each time on recurring orders. So if it's a subscription, sometimes you only send something physically in the mail the first time, and so you wouldn't check that box. But if you're sending things in the mail every time, you want to charge that shipping amount every time a recurring order, a subscription is processed, then you just check that sucker. Then you got to select a gateway. So you just add a payment method, select your gateway. You can add a new gateway here if you haven't already set that up. It'll take you over to the gateway system where you add in whatever credentials you need to add. Dummy gateway is the one that we add for you, which you can use for testing. In case you don't know, I believe that if you use 4 and then a whole bunch of ones, I think it's 12 digits altogether. 16 digits altogether. So 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 until you get to 16 digits like an American Express card. And that card number will always succeed. So if you want to test things out, that's the card number that will succeed on our dummy gateway. And basically other card numbers will fail on the dummy gateway. And anything else you put in there, as long as you put that 41111 number in there, the expiration date and all that stuff doesn't matter. So that's how you can test things. You can set up PayPal. That'll become an alternative payment method. Oops. So that is, how you set up your payment method. And note that you'll only be able to select one gateway, like for example Stripe. And then once you add that, the rest of your gateways will disappear except for PayPal. So you can always offer PayPal and one gateway, but you can't have two gateways on the same order form for obvious reasons. So that's how that works. Oh geez, stop clicking that. All right, next, taxes. So taxes works just like shipping. Basically, you add a tax and you add conditions, and the tax will be charged if the conditions are met, and it won't be charged if the conditions are not met. And then there's this little checkbox that, because some states require you to charge tax on shipping and other states don't, and so that's how that's why that feature is there. And then lastly is the invoice that's going to get sent out. You can not send an invoice at all. You can send the default invoice, or you can create a new custom invoice of your own. And then again here, do you want this invoice to be sent out every time the card is charged if it's a subscription payment, or just on the first one? So check it if you want them sent every single time. So that's kind of all the other features, the simple stuff. But I want to talk mostly about this ad and editing products, because this right here is a pretty powerful screen. There's a lot of functionality here, and I thought it would be worth just kind of covering it once and for all. So the way this works is you just click on the various parts of this thing, and you'll just fill it out like it's a form. So for example, if I want to sell some amazingness, I just select it. I can also I can add a second item to this particular order form. I can remove the item over here. So I can, if I want to change, so if I want to, I can add a new product. I can click Create New, and I can type more amazingness. Is that right? Amazingness, yeah. And then it just kind of like selects the default quantity of 1, it selects the default price of 0, and it asks whether this thing is taxable or not. In most areas, physical goods are taxable and services aren't, but your mileage may vary on that one. So how many of these things are you selling? Typically it's 1, but you can have the default quantity be more. You can just type the price in here. Price is, is a default value. And if you create a product in the sales tab, basically all a product is in Ontraport is a name and a default price. But the default price itself can be overridden on any particular order form. So you just type in the price that you want it right there, and that's how that goes. So say it's $200. And the thing is taxable, we're going to say no. More amazingness is what, $30. And so you can see here that it's more or less what your users are going to see, which is $200 plus 30 is $230. Now, you'll have noticed that as I hover over these things, there's a bunch of stuff over here on the right. And these are all a bunch of options that you can add to a particular line item on this order form. So, for example, you can add a trial period. You can make this a subscription. We'll go through these in just a second. You can offer a payment plan. You can allow the buyer to change the quantity themselves. So if they want to order 2 or 3 or 4, they can select that. Add this to a shipping packing slip. We'll talk about that in a second. Insert the coupon code, and then remove this item, which just deletes the line again. So let's start from the top. So we're going to add a trial period to this thing. So what is a trial period? A trial period is just a separate period of time before the normal charge happens that you can charge a different rate for something, right? So you might charge $1 for the first month, or $100 for the first month, or $0 for the first 30 days, or 14 days, or whatever it might be. Often trial periods are free. So let's say it's $0 for the first 14 days. And there you have created a trial, and you can see that that's, it's under the trial heading. So $0 for the first 14 days, and then it's going to charge $200 for this sucker, right? So what's going to happen if somebody successfully orders this product is that an open order is going to get created in that contact record. So an open order is just any order where we're not done charging that card yet. It can be a subscription. It can be something like this where there's a trial period and then a charge is going to come later, or it can be a payment plan where there's 2, 3, 4, 10 payments over whatever period of time, and then the thing is paid for and done. So as long as we still intend to charge that card in an automatic way, there's going to be an open order there, and you can go in and edit the open order or cancel it or whatever you want to do, but you'll see that open order in the contact record. Once we actually do charge the card, it turns into a transaction, right? What's going to happen in this particular case is that first they're going to be charged $0 for this item for 14 days, and then 14 days later, $200 is going to get charged. But we already have this more amazingness thing here, so it's going to say, it's going to be $30 today. Today's total is $30, and then later on it's going to be another $200. So that's how that's going to work. We can, of course, delete the second item, and then it'll just be $0 today and $200 down the road, right? So, and then you've got all these different options in terms of how much you want to charge for the trial and stuff like that. Now, and I'm just going to show you kind of what this looks like if we preview this sucker. Oh, here's an interesting thing. This particular order form doesn't have the order, I think we call it the order grid enabled. Let's see. So we want to, I'm going to add that here so that we can really see what is going on. I don't know how I'm going to add this in a way that makes it look kind of correct here. Maybe I'll do it down here. Make sure we have plenty of space here. All right, yeah, here's what I'm going to do. Done. Oops, let's see, I'm going to move this down here like that. And then I'm going to go over here and take this thing, where is it? The order summary, that's what we call it. I'm going to plop that sucker right there. And now it just kind of automatically opens up our particular settings for this that we've already set up here. And you can preview this page. And what have we got? Now we've got an order summary down here, and it says pretty much exactly what it showed on our other screen, right? $0 for 14 days, $200. Today's total is $0, and you try to open it up, and there you go. Now, just like every other element in Ontrapages, if you click on this sucker, there's all sorts of settings for what's shown, what's not shown, for the style of this thing, and I won't get too deep into it, but the header is the header bar there. The order items, obviously, you typically want those. The quantity, you may not want to show that if it's always going to be one item. You may just want to take that off. You may want to take the price off if it's just going to be, for example, a lot of times if it's not a trial, it'll say price and then total, and it says $200 twice, and you don't need to have that there. So you can just remove the quantity. You can take the price, remove the price off of there. The separator lines are the little lines that are light that show up in between here if you want to change the look of that thing. The subtotal, sometimes you don't need to show that twice. Again, the coupon code, well, here it hasn't been added to this because it's not in the settings yet. Same with shipping tax, total. You can remove all that stuff. So we can simplify this thing way down if we want to. And if I turn that stuff all back on, we can go in here into style, and we can change the way this looks altogether. Just like every other element, you can really get in here and mess with it. You can edit the style, and you've got a zillion different settings for how that sucker looks down there. I'm not going to get into all that right now. It works just like the styles on anything else in this particular app. So that is what we're looking at here. I'm going to go back, and you can click Add Edit Product here, and it'll open this sucker up for us. So it's a quick way to get to the same screen. You don't have to click on the button and stuff. So let us now make this a subscription. So we're just going to select that. So let's just say it is, when we added that subscription, you'll see that it just adds the per month here. So now it's a 14-day trial and then $200 per month. And when I click done, you can see that that has been updated here. So that's good. Pretty simple, right? Next, we can offer a payment plan. So let's take the subscription off because it's going to get pretty complicated if we don't. I'm going to take the trial off too, just so we can kind of clarify things by doing things one at a time. But you can pile all this stuff up on top of each other and make really complicated offers if you want to. But payment plans are interesting. Typically, the way payment plans work is it's $1,000 if you pay me today, or you can pay me in 5 payments, say, of, well, $200. You could save 5 payments of $200, but then you're just getting your same $1,000. That's free financing, right? So typically it'll be like 5 payments of $220. So it's like a 10% financing charge or something for taking me up on this payment plan offer. So let's just say it's $1,000. Oh, let's just go like that, $1,000, and then I'm going to add a payment plan. So here it is. It turned this into one-time payment of $1,000, but then I can add an option, right? So I can say 5 monthly payments of $220, or say I wanted to get crazy and say 10 monthly payments of, what would this be? $120. That'd end up being 12, and let's make it even more, $130, right? So now we're talking about $1,300 if you want to do the 10 pay option. $1,100 if you want to do the 5 pay option, and then $1,000 if you just pay me today, right? So let's take a look at how that ends up looking on the actual order form. So here's how this works. It's amazingness, and now your people have to select an option so they can, well, let's preview it. So they can select 5 payments, and it's today's 5 payments of $220 or 10 payments of $130, and you can see how it updates that thing, and they're going to order it. And then again, a open order will be created because those payments aren't all made. Now, if it's a one-time payment, it's just going to be done. No open order will be created. It'll be transaction will be completed at that time, and you're done. But if they select a payment option, 5 or 10 payments, then the open order will be collected, so you can see what happens or what's going to happen to a particular contact going forward. So that's what payment plans are. So I'm going to remove the payment plan now. Maybe. Yep, there we go. And now, allow buyer to change quantity. So this makes this thing a little more shopping carty. They can say, I want 1 of these, I want 5 of these. And then there's just some settings here. So the default quantity, where it's going to be set when they first load the page. Say you want to normally sell them 2, but the minimum allowed is 1. You can make that 0 even. Okay. When I changed that to 0, it gave me this big warning. Let's see what the warning says. It says, be aware that the rules for successful or declined transactions on this form will run even if the number of items purchased is 0. If you use these rules to trigger the delivery of products, you can be giving away your product for free. To avoid this, consider using the rule condition has ordered, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to explain what this means in English in just a second. So the default quantity is 2, the minimum allowed is 0, and the maximum allowed is 99. Okay, good. So we're going to be done with that. We're going to preview the page once again, and we're going to see what that looks like. And you can see here that they can now select different quantities. It's $1,000, it's $2,000, it's $0,000. Now, here's what we were talking about on that warning. What we're talking about here is if you go to the form settings, we have these rules here, rules for successful payment, rules for failed payment. What that warning is telling you is that if somebody goes in here and goes click, click, and they end up selecting 0 of something, well, and then they submit the form, that's still going to be, as far as the system is concerned, that's a successful form fill out. And so these rules are going to run when that happens, even if they've selected 0 quantity of something. And so if here you have used a rule that for example, sends an email that delivers access to your product, then somebody could click 0, submit, and they would get your product for free, for example. So you just want to be a little bit careful you don't give away your stuff for free. Instead of using the rules for successful payment, you would probably just create a campaign that says this person has ordered a particular number of this product, you know, like 1 or whatever, and then fulfill it from there instead of using this tool right here. So that's just a little warning about that. You probably won't run into that issue. But there's that. Remove editable quantity, so I can take that off, and now the user can't change that anymore. And the default I'll set back to 1. Now add to shipping and packing slips. So what is that? This is a feature for, well, shippable items typically. And if you get back in here, I'm gonna go to, I'll show you kind of how this works real quick. We'll load up another thing. We'll go to sales. We'll go to sales settings and shipping packing slips. So you might want to set your, most of us that you're using Ontraport as a fulfillment system are sending the packages out ourselves. If we have like fulfillment centers and stuff like that, you're typically using a more sophisticated system that is designed specifically to manage shippable programs, shippable products at volume. But for those of us who are sending, a few items, we're sending out a T-shirt, or we're sending out a box of the same thing over and over again, we may be fulfilling them ourselves, and this system is perfect for that. So you can send this out to a third party, which is what we mean by the shipper's name, shipper's email, and then it's basically, but you can put yourself in here, right? And what it's going to do is gather the sales from the last hour or the last day or the last week or the last month, and then it's going to send an email and says, here's all the stuff that got sold, you should send this stuff out. And it's going to be a long PDF that you can print out, and each page will have an invoice on it, and it'll show who bought it and what they bought and their shipping address and stuff like that. So it's the kind of thing you would like fold up and put inside the box and or whatever you want to do, fold it up and tape it to the box, whatever. Then you can CC people on this thing too. So, so that's what those shipping settings are. So if you select add to a shipping packing slip, then the item on this line is going to create one of those packing slips. It's going to get sent over to that system, and if you've got that filled out, it will send that off for you automatically. Okay, so that's what that does. And then lastly, insert the coupon code, and that is just adds the little line here so that your customers can, again, we'll just take a little peek at it, so that your customers can add the coupon code to the thing. This is a preview, so it's not going to work right now, but that's basically how that would work. And so if you're sending out coupon codes, you need to make sure you add that to your order form so that they can see this. Now, here's the tricky thing: is that all this whole this whole thing that we're calling an order summary, it doesn't even have to be on the form, right? So we can actually delete this, and it doesn't change anything about this order form because it's actually connected. The payment settings are actually connected, as we have seen, to the button. The order summary is just for the benefit of your users. So that comes in handy in a lot of different cases. One is for mobile pages. If you want to make a mobile version that doesn't show that, because I think it's pretty squeezed up on a mobile device. If you're going to have a lot of those options on, it gets pretty tight in there. If you turn a lot of them off, you can use it on a mobile device. We've kind of made it so that it works, but in general, you may want to just take that thing off. A lot of us, we're just charging, like, it's not a dynamic form. It's not going to be like, charging shipping and taxes and letting people change the quantity and stuff like that. It's just like, hey, here, it's my T-shirt, or it's my box of CDs, or whatever it is that I'm sending you, buy it or don't, right? And so you could just as easily describe what they're going to get, over here on the side or somewhere on the page, and they don't need to see that kind of complicated grid, right? So if they don't need to see that, you don't need to put it on the page. But if you do want to put that on there, or if you are using some of this more sophisticated functionality, like if you're going to offer them a payment plan, well, this is how the user selects which payment plan they're going to choose, right? So you'll need to show them the grid in those cases. Another reason that you may not want to show them the grid is that sometimes people create offers that are pretty sophisticated and that don't necessarily match up with what the buyer kind of imagines they're getting exactly. So, for example, let's say you wanted to charge, let's see, what is a good example? Let's say you wanted to charge the first 3 months of a product at $50. Let's see, is this a good example? Can you even do this? Hold on. Offer payment plan, yeah, you can. So say you wanted to charge the first 3 months of a product to $50, and then after that you wanted to charge $100. Something complicated like that. You can't do that in one line item, right? What you can do is you can create, let's see, I'm just going to start from scratch so you can see the whole, you can create that using 2 different products. So first 3 months, you might call it, okay? And then I might say, what did I say, $50 for the first 3 months? So I'm going to say this is a payment plan. The price is 3 monthly payments of $50. Okay, so that's going to charge those first 3 months of $50. Now, what do I do after that? Well, I can add a second row, and then after, I'll create a different product. Oops, I'll create new here. After 3 months. And then what do? I go, I wanted it to be $100 for that, so I'm going to create a trial period that is $0. Sorry, I'm on a little monitor here, and this is getting squished up a little bit, but this is $0 for the first, say, 4 months, right? Because it's going to be like, today is one payment, the next month is, a month later, no, it's going to be for the first 3 months. So the first 3 months, $0 for the first 3 months, right? Because the first 3 months payment is going to be handled with the first line item here. And then after that, it's going to be $100 per month. Well, I got to make it a subscription though. $100 per month after that. And so we've got what we kind of came for. But, so if you showed that to a customer, they're going to be like, wait, what is this, right? First 3 months is 3 payments of $50. And then after that, it's $0 for 3 months and then $100 per month. That's confusing, right? But it is actually the offer you wanted to make. So what I would do is I'd set it up like that, and then I'd just delete that thing, and then I would describe the offer. I would say, you're going to get $50 a month for the first 3 months, and then after that it's $100. And then on the inside, you can see that that's what we've set up here. Is the first 3 months is one thing, and after 3 months is another thing. So that's another example of why you might not want to show the product grid, or what are we calling it nowadays, the order summary. And it's also an example of the way you can kind of parse together these features to create offers that are unusual or a little more sophisticated than you might imagine you could make just looking at the features right out of the box. So I think, and then I did notice one last thing I wanted to show you here. One last little feature, which is this one right here. If you go to today's total, you can see there's this item here, charge on a later date. So what this is for is for charging a product on a particular date down the road. So this is going to be, no matter when somebody signs up for this thing, they're going to get charged on the date that I select here. So the specific use case would be for, say, a course. And the course starts on July 1st. And the offer that I'm making is sign up now, and we'll charge you on July 1st when the course starts, right? And so we sell, but nobody actually gets charged. Or, you know what I'm saying? Nobody actually gets charged. And then then this whole thing, whatever happens, kind of like whatever's on this form, the whole thing is going to kick off on July 1st. So if it's just a particular, payment, that'll happen on July 1st. If it's a subscription or with a trial period, that'll all get kind of kicked off on July 1st. Of course, if somebody buys this thing after July 1st, they're not ever going to get charged because the time has passed on this sucker, right? So you want to use that judiciously. Again, it's particularly for that one case where you want to charge everybody on kind of like the kickoff date or something. So that's what that's for. And then remove on charge later date. So there we go. I'm going to remove the trial because that just is hurting my eyeballs. I think that pretty much handles all this functionality. Just FYI, you can also reorder these things if you want to kind of set up the products in the right order or whatever. I think that does it. That's pretty quick. Hopefully that helps clarify some of the functionality on there, and it has you see a little bit more about what's possible with those features. Is there any questions we needed to answer? No, pretty simple. Great. Well, thanks for coming to Training Tuesday. We will be back same bat time, same bat channel next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific with something interesting. Who knows what it'll be. Talk then. Thanks a lot.